Species.
I saw a paraplegic who was using a walker, and I was very impressed. It was not funny. I was very impressed with him.
Yeah?
Then I saw his wife, who was 10 yards ahead of him, staring at her watch and rolling her eyes.
Oh my.
That was not funny. That was hilarious.
All right, welcome to Origin of Species. My name is Scott. I'm here with my good friend Steve for another episode. And I just need a minute to take all that in. So is this a real thing you saw?
This is a true story, and actually my wife can help me verify this. So we were in Charleston a couple weekends ago, and we both noticed this man with a massive chest and giant arms. And then we noticed why, because he's paraplegic. His legs were not functioning.
Who's the guy from Family Guy? He kind of looks like the Tick, you know, like
Quagmire.
No, he's the paraplegic that's ripped.
Well, my wife first saw him because she saw his chest.
Yeah,
and he's using a walker to move.
Okay.
And wife is my witness. I look up and there's this woman standing, waiting for him, looking like a cartoon teenager.
Right.
Staring at her watch, looking at him, rolling her eyes.
Right.
And my wife is like, "Did you just see that too?"
Yeah.
So that was probably the most uncomfortable part of my trip to Charleston.
So I guess it's just one of those things where we're all looking at it like, look what the human body can do when you put your mind to it.
Yeah, and look what he's overcome.
This guy's overcoming, and his apparently wife or girlfriend is like, he wouldn't just use the wheelchair.
Yeah.
We're going to be 5 minutes late to the...
This was the day he had to show off.
Right. Wow.
So the punchline to that story was about 6 hours later, after we've been walking around Charleston enjoying ourselves, we come back towards that area and run into the couple again. This time, the wife seems to be in a much better mood.
Good.
They're still walking. He's still ripped. Maybe it was a bad moment. Maybe she was distracted by something else. But
yeah. Well, good. I'm glad it turned out okay.
Yeah. You got to be careful mining the paraplegic humor grounds there. There's a lot of shrapnel you can take.
Yeah, but no, it's. I mean, you have to laugh. Who was I just listening to? They were talking about. I was listening to Meghan McCain talk to Ben Shapiro, and she was talking about how her dad would tell these stories about POW camp, but they would all just die laughing, and they didn't know why, because there was really dark stuff. Yeah. But you just do have to laugh sometimes.
Yeah, if you don't laugh, you go insane.
Right.
Or you end up rolling your eyes at your paraplegic husband who's taking too long to go down the street.
You know, but it's got to suck. In a way, I'm going to play the devil's advocate for her. It does got to kind of suck that, like, everyone you come across is like, oh, this guy, oh, he's look at all he's gone through. But what if he's like a jerk? I mean, he could be a jerk.
And he was pretty top-heavy strong. I mean, that is not the sort of, muscles, I did a bunch of bench presses at the gym, but I'm not really strong. That man is real life strong.
Right, but I guess, but what I'm getting at too, though, is, does he ever lose an argument? Like, he always has the thing of like, okay, you've got it so bad? Like,
well, I
don't have use of my legs.
Right, and if he's within grabbing distance of you, he's got another weapon, because that guy was ripped. So I did want to take this as a chance to just compliment Charleston, South Carolina, which was awesome. I know we both had South Carolina trips. We've kind of had the yin and yang of that.
Right.
One of the things I liked about Charleston was I have never seen so many white people in one place in my life. I've been to a Dave Matthews concert. It looked like the Wu-Tang reunion tour. Compared to this, it was weird. And the other thing I thought of when I was out, you remember From Dusk Till Dawn, like the bar.
I do. Yes.
There's a point in the night where everyone turns into a vampire.
Yes.
If you're at a bar like past 9 o'clock, everyone turns into a blonde girl named Kenley or Ashley. It was like a white ladies magazine come to life. It was
I need to go to Charleston, man.
You should. It is not a good
That wasn't
go
the
with
same.
your dude.
Yeah, that wasn't the same vibe in Myrtle Beach. That's right. So we've both had South Carolina trips.
Mm-hmm.
What I did get to see was what seemed like a replica of Roadhouse, the Double Deuce. I think I sent you a little clip video.
Yeah.
It was like the real deal. And but one thing they had in there, which I'd never seen before, was I kept hearing the sound of glass breaking, or what I thought was glass breaking. It was very believable. They had this thing on a pulley that they could just sling, and it would smash into this contraption and make it sound like glass breaking, I guess, to get the full Roadhouse feel. But it was good. It was it was still very, very white, but it was not Dave Matthews Band white.
Yeah, this was Charleston. Was a great town. It was fun to visit. It's definitely like you go with your lady town. It's not like dudes weekend. Where are we going?
Yeah.
Pop our collars. We're going to Charleston.
Yeah, we're going to Charleston. We're going to stay at a B&B.
Even though, again, a lot of ladies there.
Well, so there may be an inefficiency in the market, is what you're saying.
There could be a time.
An opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't think they go for my type, the podcaster type. I think they go for the, like you said, the pop collar, got a boat.
Yeah.
Our friend Craig should go down there. Is he
should
still
go
single?
down there. Yeah.
Okay.
Not
He's got
for
a
long.
boat.
Not if he goes to Charleston.
That's right. Cool. So, all right. Well, thanks for sharing. I know you said you had a
welcome.
good time, and
Charleston.
we do wish the best to the Ripped.
And I will give a shout out to a future episode we're going to have coming up. So we were actually down there to see our favorite new comedian, Nate Bargatze. My wife and I had a chance actually to meet him, which was fun. And he inspired me. We will have an idiom coming up from him from one of his jokes.
Okay.
So just kind of future plug.
I'm looking forward to it. Now, a couple of quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you've done a couple of these backstage things, and I want to know, how does it rank there with Air Supply? Because you did the Lost in Love VIP.
I did. So to clarify, I've done this twice, and I was telling an in-law this the other day and realized I need to make it clear this is not like our new thing. Mm-hmm. So a couple years ago, I spent a lot of money to meet Air Supply backstage, and I would gladly do it again. It was money well spent.
Yeah.
That was a situation where I felt like my wife and I were like the most normal people there easily.
Yeah, did we talk about that on the podcast? I think we may have.
A little. We don't want to make people too envious of my life. When I hear that I spend time with Air Supply, who did make it, and you can testify, did end up in my Christmas card that year.
Yes.
The picture we had with them.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And that was fine. So the tickets for this, it was a nominal upcharge to me.
Okay. Oh, for Bargatze.
Yeah. So that was reasonable. It was a quick kind of meet and greet thing. It was a nice guy. I had the fears we were getting up there of, what if this guy's a jerk? And he was having a good day and was fine. And
the only meet and greet backstage that I've ever done was last podcast on the left, and I was nervous. I was, because you want to say something to make them laugh or whatever, but I never know what to say. So I will tell you what I said, because I was there with my friend Alyssa. She was kind of nervous, trying to think what she was going to say the whole time. And, she is probably a bigger fan than I am. Mm-hmm. And so she told me what she was going to say ahead of time. And I was kind of like, you're really going to say that? Mm-hmm. But I didn't. I didn't want to make her more nervous. And what she said to them was, you guys should all choke me or pretend to choke me. Yeah. And she goes, my mom said that that's what we should do.
Okay.
And the look on their faces. So one of them, Marcus, was like, no, we don't like violence. And the other two were like, what did you just say? Yeah. So there I knew what I was going to say. Right. So I just came up next and said, my mom said, you guys should choke me. Mm-hmm. And they legitimately laughed. Right. And I felt very clever, even though I was ripping off what she said. But it was more funny coming from a big bearded guy. But I have a picture of them laughing at me saying that. And it makes me happy.
I know if I ever meet Air Supply again, what line to work with.
Do they already have a song about that? Probably.
They probably do. That's their new.
What's their big song? I can't I don't.
Which one?
I don't know. They had the really famous one. I can't think of a single
Lost
Air Supply.
in Love, making love.
I'm all out of love. Is that
all
them?
Out of love? Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I'm all out of air. I need you to choke me. See, you got.
Let's be respectful.
Come on, man. All right.
I need to clarify. The reason we went to go see them was when I met my wife years ago. I had my CD case.
Mm-hmm.
What was the one brand of CD case?
Case Logic.
Case Logic. I had my Case Logic full of whatever looked kind of cool in the mid 90s.
Your XTC.
Yeah, definitely really cool in the mid 90s. And then I had my Air Supply Greatest Hits, and she's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "It's Air Supply's Greatest Hits," and I didn't like it. Ironically, sometimes you need two Australian guys who took their name from the fuel supply of a balloon.
Yeah,
and those guys, when you need that, they're there for you.
Yeah, they're just there. They scratch that itch.
Yeah,
I was listening back to the episode we did on STC, and there was some Frankie Goes to Hollywood talk, and I realized I don't know much about Frankie Goes to Hollywood at all, and boy, I wish I'd kept it that way.
Yeah,
I Googled them, and because I was like, what was the deal with them? I knew they had the safety dance. They had Relax. And yeah, just reading more about the promotional stuff for I was like, wow, that's I wish I didn't know that, hadn't seen that, hadn't heard that. So don't Google Frankie Goes to Hollywood and learn more about them like I did.
And still don't Google Young Gravy.
No.
Young without a no.
I have still not heard. Yeah, let's tell them exactly how not to spell it.
Whatever you do,
don't put it into the Google machine. All right, Steven, what are we doing tonight?
All right. So what I'm going to do this evening are some animal-themed idioms. It's a little bit bittersweet. I wanted to use this as an occasion to announce that my Animals podcast is being delayed slightly. We've had a lot of activity lately with True Facts with Robert Banquette,
right?
Which has taken off. I've been working with Robert Banquette to help transcribe his broadcasts and also work with him, do some editing with him. And he's frankly taken a lot of my time. I finally got him to quit calling people from Richmond Northerners. So right, I feel like that's been a success.
Right.
But Animals That Suck is going to have to be postponed to probably early 2020. And accordingly, I've also modified the name. Right now, I'm working the working title is Animals, A Critical Examination. So I started reaching out to some zoos on Twitter and found that having your podcast called Animals That Suck didn't really get the response that I was looking for. So I think it's very...
Well, you can see where people might mistake it for being...
I could see that.
I don't know, maybe ill or ill-spirited or something. Yeah.
And I think, now Animals, A Critical Examination podcast has a little bit more serious. Now, I still do have the wonderful logo with a bunch of animals with a no sign.
And if I remember correctly, it doesn't say Animals That Suck on it, does it? It just says Species with the so you don't have to change the logo.
Yeah, and it tells you everything you really need to know, I think, with the logo
feel too like you have a better chance at getting Obama with that. It sounds a little more heady. So if I can say one thing about True Facts, since that one is coming out.
Pardon me, it's True Facts with Robert Banquette.
My bad.
Robert Banquette is very picky about that.
Right. He is a particular man. So, and and we like him. He's very particular, and he would not like me calling it just True Facts. So True Facts with Robert Banquette, I have had a chance to get a sneak preview of the first episode, and it is very good. I'm excited for everyone to hear it. I guess by the time this gets released, it will have been out.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just say having the transcripts is a good thing because there is a lot there to unpack. I have had to listen back a couple times and I've heard things that I missed the first time. So I think that's a good idea. I'm glad you're helping him out. He could, use your steadying hand as a veteran in the podcast industry.
And if he hears this, he needs to remember Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy.
Right.
So please stop calling us Northerners.
Yes, and has he started growing a beard yet now that he's into podcasting?
I think when we made a logo of him with a beard, even though he doesn't have one.
Oh, that's right.
we told him if you're a podcaster, it's like people think you have a beard, so that's what we're gonna make the logo look like.
That's right. I forgot.
We'll see. If he continues to grow like this, he might end up with a beard anyway. So again, our theme tonight is animals, and again, as it's a little bit bittersweet, I went with a dead animal theme.
Okay.
So
we're not celebrating the majesty of animals tonight.
No, well,
it's dead.
It could be.
Dead.
What's dead animal? Well,
dead animals. Okay.
But if you think about it,
you said animals. I thought I was looking forward to another raining cats and dogs.
Well, what happens if cats and dogs fall from the sky?
Well, it depends on from how far they fall.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
That's grotesque. All right, dead animals.
Dead animals. And if you think about it, animals are best when they're dead.
What? Well, okay.
When do you eat?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know where you're going with that.
Yeah.
So I would agree that bacon is a dead animal, and as is a delicious steak.
Hopefully. But when we think of dead animals, the most prominent one goes to our first idiom, as dead as a dodo.
As dead as a dodo.
Dead as a dodo.
Is that like Gone the Way of the Dodo? Same deal?
Yeah,
it's all
same
it's all the
thing.
dodo, dead as a dodo.
And it's fun to say, isn't
Dead
it?
as a doornail. It is, like,
Yeah.
I'm laughing out of sheer joy of just saying dead as a dodo.
Yeah.
Because normally this is the part where you say, so is this something that you say?
Yeah.
And the answer is no. I've never quite heard it that way.
Now, I've said, I use the version of go the way of the dodo.
Yes,
I've said that before. So we are going to start here with our friends at Phrases UK. So the meaning of the phrase dead as a dodo, according to Phrases UK, is unambiguously and unequivocally dead. So when something has gone the way of the dodo, it's gone and it's not coming back.
I like that we have to have this term. It's unequivocally dead, because
Yeah.
there are all those times where you're not sure.
Yeah. They're not hurt and getting better. They're gone.
By the way, fun fact.
Yes.
If we're talking about dead animals, but my great grandmother's nickname was Dodo.
Okay.
She's also dead, but that was her name, and
Yeah.
you know, she should be dead. My grandmother.
She should be dead.
Well, she should, because she'd be 130
Oh, okay.
or something.
All right. I didn't know if she.
No, not
she
like
had
I have a
crossed you.
vendetta against her or anything. This is my great. No, excuse me. It's my great grandmother, because my grandmother is still alive. Her nickname is Mimey. Her
That's a good grandma.
That's a good one, Mimey. But my great grandmother was Momo, which was good until about 15 minutes ago when that stupid Momo internet thing came up. Which, if you haven't seen it, really don't Google.
Oh,
that
I
one.
remember that.
Yeah, and that bummed me out, because that was my great grandmother. But my great grandmother was Dodo. So there you go.
Yeah.
Dodo, Momo, and Mimey.
One of my nephews has an anti-dodo.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's not her real name, but
interesting.
it's a good little kind of little kid name to
Yeah.
call somebody that. So hopefully no one's grandmother or aunt goes away the dodo.
No.
But let's talk a little bit about the dodo.
Yeah.
So the dodo was a bird. You see a lot of past tense this evening. It was a flightless bird that looked somewhat like a turkey. So the dodo was native to an island called Mauritius, which has had a rich history on its own. It's an island nation in the Indian Ocean, about 1,000 miles off the southeast coast of Africa. So one of the interesting things about this island is it was found when it was uninhabited. It was colonized by several different countries, including one of our favorite countries, which will be coming up here in a moment. So a little bit more about the dodo. It looked a lot like a turkey. It's a little bit bigger, weighed about 50 pounds, had blue-gray plumage. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, a big head. That's a quote. So that sounds nice.
That may have contributed in their demise.
Yeah. So how did they end up dead?
I bet they were delicious.
They actually were not, and that leads very well to our friends, the Dutch. So one of the nations that colonized, I forget what we said already.
Mauritius.
Mauritius was the Dutch. They called it Walgevodel, which in Dutch means disgusting bird.
That's one of the funniest things
That is.
we've had on this show.
This is from mentalfloss.com. 11 facts, 11 things we know about the dodo.
I really want to see a picture of it now.
So it was called disgusting bird because of the toughness of its flesh. And according to the quote here, the longer and oftener they were cooked, the less soft and more insipid they became.
Jeez.
So
this is a good one.
They were not eaten to death.
I'm pulling this up online. That is a horrific looking bird.
Yeah.
It looks like it's got a toucan beak kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It is ugly.
It is not an attractive bird. So from what I've researched about it, the Dutch were there and contributed to the name. The name is actually Portuguese. So the name dodo actually came from the Portuguese word dondo. which meant idiot or fool. The Portuguese were actually there before the Dutch. I believe they never colonized the island, but they were there before the Dutch did.
They were there chilling.
Yeah, and they were able to kind of claim the name a little bit better.
Yeah.
According to Phrases UK, which I normally don't go to for scientific explanations of why a species is extinct, but in this case I will, they attribute it to the introduction of domestic animals to the island, which makes sense. If it's an uninhabited island that's, after millions of years, suddenly has people show up and bringing their own animals.
Right.
I could see that kind of being a shock to the system.
Well, that has happened throughout the history of our species. That's why that's one of the reasons why a lot of the big animals aren't with us anymore, because when humans, and this is not me saying like humans are destroying the earth and terrible, although it's kind of true that whenever we would show up somewhere, any of the big animals especially, they weren't afraid of us because they didn't know, or if it's a new animal, they don't know to be afraid.
Right.
And so all of a sudden you've got these domestic animals that are not native to the place and human beings. They just kind of look at you and then they get eaten because they don't know to be afraid and to attack back.
So that was one of the problems that Dodo had. According to Mendelfloss, they were placid and unafraid of humans.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So
that didn't help. Also, too, they were flightless.
Yeah.
So as they did end up on an island with a bunch of people that didn't like them, didn't want to eat them, Dodos almost remind me, have you ever met somebody that you just instinctively don't like?
Oh,
and then you realize other people feel the same way. And it's kind of rare. It is almost like a Dodo-like thing, but they're occasionally just people that you come across, and it's almost like in a pheromone sort of way.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't like this person, and you can tell. Now, generally, I don't like most people, but this is one of the rare circumstances where I can kind of bond with other people. It's like, I can tell. It's only the feeling I get when I realize I'm that person in the room. So when I see it reflected on somebody else, it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
So the Dead is a Dodo, it's used because I think it's catchy, and
it's fun to say.
It's fun to say.
Yeah.
And
I started a giggle fit earlier just saying Dead is a Dodo because I hadn't said it. And it's the alliterative thing.
So how did this get in the vernacular? How did it get out there? So According to Phrases UK, because Lewis Carroll used Dodo as a character in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, that kind of got the use of the word dodo out there. And even though I don't think it is explicitly quoted in that book as Dead as a Dodo,
right?
That got people talking about Dodo,
right.
and once word got out that the dodo was gone, and there's sightings of it, and the phrase is as rare as the dodo and as extinct as a dodo in the 1860s and 1870s. The earliest record they found is a reprint of a story from a Liverpool newspaper that was reprinted in the Bangor Daily Whig and Courier.
Cool.
In May 1891, after the next general election, Mr. Parnell will only have 4 followers, except as a private member of Parliament. He is dead as a dodo.
Nice.
So I think this one sticks around because it's catchy.
Yep.
It's fun to say. It has a good sound to it. And dodos just look...
Yeah.
They look like the sort... Like, I want to hit it with a shovel, when I see it.
They look like they sound.
They do. They look like a dodo. Like, it's very well named.
Yeah, if you were to pull up a dodo and it was like this beautiful, magnificent bird, you'd be a little surprised. But
you see that bird, and it would be more surprising if it wasn't extinct.
Yeah, exactly. And what's funny is the fact that they weren't good to eat, but yet they still went extinct just because people saw it and were like, we gotta kill this.
Like with buffaloes going extinct, at least you can eat them.
Right.
They look fun to shoot, not in like a pick on them way, but like that would be fun.
Well, and they don't seem like a threat. I don't know if you picked that up but yeah, I mean, the reason to kill an animal would be you want to eat it, you want to use its whatever hide, or you want to not get dead because they're going to kill you.
Yeah, and buffaloes kind of cover all those.
Right. So buffalo, right, but dodos, I think they just got killed because they look that way. Yeah. They also, if you get a chance to look at a picture of them, they look like they think they're better than you. The look on their face, you know what I mean? Like, so
I could see that.
It is that instinctual.
I don't like this person.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, all right. Well,
So to conclude about the dodo from mentalfloss.com, one of their last facts is it was basically a big pigeon. So scientists, tried to kind of find an animal to group it with. But following a DNA sample, they found it's a closest relative, though still distant, was to a pigeon, which again doesn't.
yeah.
I think if anything, that just adds to my idea that it's good that the dodo's gone the way of the dodo.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's really missing.
I don't like pigeons.
Yeah. And a shout out to the Dutch. You haven't been here as much this season.
No.
We spent a lot of time with the Dutch. And I think we saw the value add they always bring with their naming of the dodo and their contribution. Thank you, the Dutch.
I feel like the Dutch have been the most, as we've talked about different countries, like only good things have come from.
Yeah.
I almost said Deutschland. No, that's not.
Yeah.
No, but from the Dutch and the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, naming something disgusting bird. I need to comb
That's
my.
funny.
I think I found more of a kindred spirit in the Dutch than I even realized.
As soon
before.
as you said it, I started laughing. I just thought I thought about you because I pictured this like old Dutch Steve from however many 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Naming this thing.
I like the idea of an old Dutch Steve, and that could also be get a Swedish exit from old Dutch Steve.
All right, it's $2 for an old Dutch Steve, $3 for the Swedish exit.
Yeah.
Species.
This is Robert Bankett. On the next episode of True Facts with Robert Bankett, I will examine the life and death of Margaret Mitchell, the legendary Southern writer best known for the classic book, Gone with the Wind. I will explore her life before and after Gone with the Wind, including Montgomery, Alabama's connection to the book. In addition, I will discuss her tragic death in 1949 at age 48 and debunk some of the silly conspiracy theories surrounding her too early demise. Here is an exclusive preview of the next episode of True Facts with Robert Bankett. Margaret Mitchell, author of Gone with the Wind. Over a period of 9 years, Mitchell worked at her novel in fits and starts. Common wisdom is that the character that eventually became Katie Scarlett O'Hara was originally named Pansy O'Hara, and that the name was changed to Scarlett right before publication. The true facts on this matter is that Mitchell had several names that she explored for the lead character before she settled on Scarlett. These names included Merkin Collinsworth, Marie Tiggy Biggy Gibbs, Liddy Bib Sheepshank, Camille Brickhouse, Amelia Noblacks, Jemima Hambone, Mary Ann Hogmoss, Jackie, Terry Bam Bam Gordy, Margaret Thatcher, Pamela Cottonmouth, and Sugar Bush Murphy. Thank you for listening to this preview of the next episode of True Facts with Robert Bankett. Margaret Mitchell will be released on Wednesday, October 23rd. To make sure that you don't miss an episode, please subscribe to True Facts with Robert Bankett at your favorite podcast provider. For episode transcripts, go to Species.com/truefacts. I wish you a wonderful day, and, as always, roll tide.
Species.
So our next dead animal idiom is Swan Song. So one that I think everyone knows when you hear it. It's someone's last big performance. It's kind of like their last stand maybe also too. Last thing they're going to do. And when I hear this, I always think of I will actually use the term sweet Led Zeppelin logo they had because they were Swan Song Records. And that's the first thing that comes up. And it's it's got some muscular angel that's got a Ken doll crotch, flailing in the air. It's kind of
better
disturbing.
than the alternative in a way, though.
I don't know. I'm looking at it right now. It's kind of like that angel's had a
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't want to get into an angel genital discussion. That'll be for my Nate Bargatze episode coming up here.
That could be a comedy
in a
bit
little
like, do angels have genitalia?
Yeah. What's the deal with angels' genitalia?
Right. That sounds like something that like would be in a Kevin Smith movie, you know?
Oh.
I know. I do mean that in a bad way.
By the way, I'll give kudos to that guy for making a movie off his credit card in 1993.
Yeah, I do too.
Did. Those movies are awful. They're not good.
No.
He's not good. And he's got a career, and he's recovered from some health issues, and God bless him. But I
mean, what I don't like about him, if we're going to be negative here for a second, is good job. I mean, good for him for doing something.
I mean, he's made a career out of it. I'll give him that.
But it was like kind of right place, right time in everything I've read about it and heard about it, and he has made so many bad movies since then.
Yeah.
But he still has the name. And did I hear they're making like a Clerks 3D or something?
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, I mean,
he's kind of like a raccoon in that they have so much potential. Like they look like bandits. They kind of have thumbs.
Right.
And what do you do with it? Mallrats.
Yeah.
Tusk. Clerks 3.
Tusk is supposed to be one of like the worst movies of all time.
I believe it.
And it's got that real talk about just punchable faces. He's probably a good guy, but the kid that's in Tusk,
Justin Long.
Yeah.
He actually has a podcast.
I've heard about that.
I heard a clip of it the other day where he discussed how he has a punchable face.
You're kidding.
No.
It must come up all the time because
Yeah.
he does have just a classic punchable face.
It is.
Or maybe I heard that and I'm just subconsciously heard it because that's kind of quite the coincidence. So Swan Song.
Yeah, so Clerks 2 should have been Kevin Smith's Swan Song from movies. Unfortunately, he's making number 3. So the term is, according to Phrases UK, the term is derived from a legend that while swans are mute during most of their lives, they sing beautifully right before they die.
Really?
Yeah, which isn't true.
Oh.
But it's nice. It sounds fun to say. So this was shot down very early by one of my favorite elders, Pliny the Elder.
Oh, yeah.
He refuted it in his writing Natural History from AD 77. I think it's called Natural History, not Natural History AD 77. But even if he did, either way.
That was tagged on later.
Yeah, my last name's not the Elder, so I think he can get away with stuff like that if he needs to.
Yeah.
And his statement is pretty concise. Observation shows that the story that the dying swan sings is false.
Boom.
Bang, right there.
True facts.
Yep. But it's a very romantic image. It's something that you hear Swan Song and you think of a swan. Swans are like really classy geese.
Yeah.
And I don't have the general negative kind of feeling when I see geese or a goose. I just unhappy instantly.
Right.
But not with a swan.
I have no idea what a swan. I mean, a swan song. Do they have a song? Do they have a good sounding? They just more kind of honk like a duck or something. Right?
Yeah, I think it's something that they probably sound just like a stupid goose, but they look cool. It's kind of like dress for the job you want.
Yeah,
you know, you might have the same two people, but if somebody's in a suit versus someone with a neck tattoo and a Goonie shirt, you're gonna.
Wait a minute. Wait, I'm wearing a Goonie shirt right now.
You don't have a neck tattoo.
I feel attacked.
Yet.
I do have tattoos.
So so we know that Swan Song is patently false.
Right.
However, it's very poetic and has been used throughout history. Many prominent writers have used the illustration of a swan song, and I shall tell you about some right now.
Please.
I felt like saying the word shall because we're about to talk about Geoffrey Chaucer, who included a line about swans in his poem Parliament of Fowls, and it's translated, "The jealous swan sings before his death." And if you saw how this was spelled, it looks like Geoffrey Chaucer had been up for a really long time and decided to write something down.
Lots of Y's and TH's and
the Guy Fieri or maybe Barry Popick of his age, William Shakespeare, used the image in The Merchant of Venice. The character Portia said, "Let music sound while he doth make his choice. Then, if he lose, he makes a swan-like end, fading in music." Shakespeare's pretty good. Even my goofy voice reading that out says that. And we can't end without, he's not in the Barry Popick, Guy Fieri, John Haywood area yet, but he's getting close. Our new friend, STC.
Yeah, okay, because, you said there's going to be more STC this season.
There's going to be a lot of STC. The poet STC, or as commoners call him, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, used a phrase in this poem on a volunteer singer. Swans sing before they die. 'Twere no bad thing. Did certain persons die before they sing? And I just want to go back to give a shout. That is a good poem title.
Yeah.
On a volunteer singer.
Yeah, it's confusing.
It's like he was on opium.
Could be. Oh, yeah, that is STC. That's our boy.
Yeah. So Phrases UK ends that a lot of times that Swan Song is used now, when it comes up to music, it talks about bands that go on that last tour. This is our Swan Song. This is our final tour.
To the rock.
So I think Led Zeppelin never really had a "we're done" tour because John Bonham passed away, and they just said we're done, and they didn't do the whole Who thing.
No.
Where they just would grab people that were alive. And I don't know if you're aware that Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey are still touring as the Who, like actively.
I didn't know that.
Like,
Yeah, but they're doing like new stuff, right?
They're even putting a new album out.
Yeah, that's my problem. I mean,
they're in their mid-70s. They have a massive band behind them. I mean, it's not. No one wants to go see Daltrey and Entwistle. It's the power of branding that people go to see the Who. But they went from "I Hope I Die Before I Get Old."
Wait, you said not Daltrey and Entwistle. Entwistle's dead, right?
Yeah,
like the Dodo.
He is, unfortunately.
Well, but
good bass player, by the way.
Yeah, I remember you talking about him back in the day, how well he held down that band. And I thought about it. I was like, listen back, it's true. But what I was going to say, it is kind of jacked up how we just dismiss out of hand. Like I would say the Who, they're one of the easily top 3 to 5 rock bands of all time. But it's like, we don't want to hear anything new from them. Moving on, But it's true. It's just
true.
They put out an album. It was like a greatest hits album. You may remember this. And they did 2 new songs at the end. And one of them was called "Real Good Looking Boy."
I actually remember, and that was a good song.
It was a good song.
Yeah.
But it was also called "Real Good Looking Boy."
Yeah.
And it was a Pete Townsend song. And he's got a little problematic past there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Let's just put it this way. I don't think there's been fire, but there's been smoke. Right. And I don't know that I want to, if there was going to be smoke, I would be doing a song about a real good looking boy. But, it was a good song on its surface. So how did we get to the Who? Oh, Swan Song. Page and Plant. They did do the Page and Plant stuff, which maybe you could say is kind of a Swan Song, but not the full band.
Keeping with our very happy theme here of Swan Song, I'm going to refer to a very recent article by the author Damon Linker. The title of the article is "The Coming Death of Just About Every Rock Legend." And this was written just a few weeks ago. And the reason he writes this is the age, or as he describes it, "Behold the killing fields that lie before us." So I'm just going to throw out some rock stars in their ages. Bob Dylan, 78. Paul McCartney, 77. David Gilmour, 73. Rod Stewart, which is going to be tough for me, 74. Billy Joel, 70. He's the youngest of this group of things. That there's going to be a time where if you think of a rock legend that's not dead yet, their time's coming. And what I think's going to be sad is there's going to be a day where 2 people go, and if Van Morrison's pretty awesome, but if he goes on the same day as Paul McCartney, no one's going to know that Van Morrison passed away.
It's the Farrah Fawcett Michael Jackson thing. They died on the same day. Oh. And nobody remembers about Farrah Fawcett because
she died on the same day as Michael Jackson.
She made headlines for about 5 minutes, and then it was and think about how huge she was. So just to bolster your point there.
I mean, there's the poster.
Yeah.
She was in Cannonball Run 1. I mean, she should get, every time someone from Cannonball Run dies, they should have a CNN day dedicated to him. That's just me.
I agree. But I do also like how I don't think we'll ever have this, celebrities that their number one claim to fame was a poster. You had her. You had, who was it on the cover of 10?
Bo Derek. That Farrah Fawcett poster is pretty good.
It's good. Yeah. It looks like she could have come straight out of a
refrigerator.
I was going to say Charleston bar after 9.
But,
so anyway, well, I agree. And I mean, we already lost David Bowie. I was reading more about him. I know you're a huge David Bowie fan. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
I was just reading just the to appreciate David Bowie and the amount of his output and how good it was. He had some, I guess, critical misses, but then his last album was one of his best. I don't know how much time he spent with that one, but it's good.
Yeah,
And he did that when he was...
You can't hit a home run if you don't swing. So
Yeah.
you're gonna strike out every now and then.
Right.
I'm looking at,
and he seemed to always be like he always had like an escape velocity from whatever was trending, going out of style.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he'd be out of there and onto the next thing right before it went out of style. It's
a very underrated skill. We talked a couple weeks ago about P. Diddy, who is awful, but at the same time, he's an awful person that's made millions and millions of dollars. His talent is figuring out trends and how to play off them. You know, he's not going to grab a guitar and, you know, write a concept album. He's going to find someone else that grabbed a guitar 20 years ago, take a sample and go, oh. But I can mock him. He's probably lying on a bag full of Benjamins or Dot Benjamins or whatever.
Yep.
Anyway, too much P. Diddy.
A lot of problems.
So my last idiom is one's a little bit tough because it comes back to what I've decided is my favorite animal, which is a cat.
Yes. Because
cats are jerks and they really don't care if you like them or not. And that's made me have great respect for them. But the idiom related to that is dead cat bounce.
I love this one. And I don't know, I've heard it, but I don't know anything about it or when you would even use it other than, I think you didn't ask, but I think, does it mean like something just flopped, didn't work well, or was a failure, or am I totally off?
No, you're pretty close. So the origin of it helps explain. So the expression originated in the UK during the financially turbulent 80s. And again, quoting from Phrases UK. And the idea is that when a market suffers, there will be a bounce in prices.
That's what it is.
It's basically, you know, you drop something from high enough, even a dead cat, there'll be some sort of bounce.
There will be eventually a bounce.
Right. So when people
so
are
what
trying
I said was not even close, but thank you for, you're like, kind of.
Well, it's close. And I think, and it comes back when, and I'm sure you've done this, when you've tried to like time when to get a stock. Or also, you and I worked together in the mortgage industry before.
Oh,
and there's always that where you try to time, well, if I lock in my mortgage rate at this time, and then you start overthinking it.
I just have to take this one moment to, I will go ahead and quote your brother when he told me about the stock, the course he took. And what he gleaned from it was, what you do is you buy stocks when they're low and then you sell them when they're high. So I thought that was really good advice.
It is.
So love you, buddy, but that was probably a class you didn't have to take. No, I knew what he was trying to say,
but it's one of those kind of common, and you and I have had a running joke about this before, about a situation we've been in when the best time to look for a job is when you have one. It's one of those things that's it's like simple, but it's true.
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
but
people tell you that at the wrong time.
Well, yeah. Well, when I was told that, it was by my father-in-law at the time, as I was sitting in my car after having lost my job.
But like a dead cat.
Yeah, I bounced.
You bounced back.
I bounced back just about as good as that, but as well as that. So I feel a little embarrassed that I do work in finance, and I didn't. I was like, I've heard that, but I didn't know what it meant. So,
and I think so. Some of the other examples they give is just that popularity people get temporarily. I can almost see this used as just like, just because you see a spike in something. Remember, even a dead cat will bounce. So, they give a couple examples of during the Gulf War, the first Gulf War. I remember the first President Bush, I believe, had approval rating in the high 90s, something ridiculous. It was like, well, first of all, you're in the 90s, so who cares if it's 90 or 99%? Once you're in the think about a 90% approval rating.
Yeah. Well, you know why he had that right?
Why?
Because he was the godfather of
the disco.
The disco.
He was. He is if there was a Rudy Ray Moore movie that George Herbert Walker Bush represented, it was definitely the Disco Godfather, which is also, I didn't get a chance to share this, an alternate title of that movie is the Avenging Disco Godfather. It makes it just a little bit better.
I agree.
It's pretty good anyway.
The Avenging Disco Godfather.
And
That is cool. That is cool.
And I'm going to take this time I need to correct myself on two things from
Okay.
previous episodes.
We've gotten a lot of mail on this, right?
I bet.
Yeah.
Well, we discussed a couple episodes ago Scotty Too Hottie,
Yes.
who was a member of a tag team called Too Cool. And I misspoke his partner's name. I think I called his partner Too Cool.
No, you said Too Sexy.
Too Sexy, that's what I said. Well, it's
Yeah.
still wrong.
Oh, okay.
Because his name was Grandmaster Sexay.
Oh,
And that honestly has been
awesome.
keeping me up at night that I misspoke. I didn't get the chance to say Grandmaster Sexay
yeah.
in context.
Well, now you did, and it's
Yeah.
it's in context because we're talking about Dolomite again.
And one last one is
Mm-hmm.
I really regret in our episode about STC
Yeah.
that when we talked about his Utopia Pantisocracy, I didn't say that was a Lost Prince album.
Oh, that
Because
would have been
think
that's
about
perfect. Yes,
That was probably when he was departing this earth. His last regret was probably I should have made an album called Pantisocracy.
Pantisocracy.
So Dead Cat Bounce.
I like it.
Don't
I
get
wish-
a chance to use it that much, but
Yeah.
I think I'm going to actually try to use it more. But it's one of those ones that kind of gets back to like skinning a cat.
Yeah.
Like if you say it in a wrong group of people, you can kind of get that.
I know, but I kind of like it. Well, I also kind of feel like this should have been a Tom Wolfe one because Tom Wolfe hasn't come back since the very first episode,
Because
and so
he's-
I'm trying to.
He's dead.
Well, he is dead, but so is I don't know, Shakespeare. But
Yeah.
I thought he was going to come up more often. But when we say '80s financial stuff,
That's a good point.
I feel like this should be a Tom Wolfe one. And so even if Tom Wolfe didn't coin it, I want to like weirdly associate him with this.
This could be his Pantisocracy.
Yeah.
So again, to conclude our trio of dead animal idioms, we had
Dead as a Dodo.
which I think is good.
Yep,
It should not go the way of the dodo.
Nope, we should use it. It's fun to say. We have Swan Song, and they don't really sing, and we know that because Pliny said it's false.
Pliny the Elder.
Pliny the Elder, my bad, said it is false. And then we have Dead Cat Bounce, which did not come from Tom Wolfe.
Or Kevin Smith.
And I think we've now officially beaten a dead horse with this
Yeah.
episode. So, hey, this is Scott. Thanks for listening to Origin of Species. And wow, look at you. You made it all the way to the end. We've got some great episodes coming up. Our next one is the Halloween episode, which last year's Halloween episode was one of my favorites we've ever done. So if you're in the mood, go back and listen to that one from last year and then listen to the one next week. We think you'll enjoy it. So do us a favor and give us a rating and review. Tell a friend about us. And once again, thank you very much for listening.
Animals are best when they're dead.